Welcome back to the Good Wife podcast. Excited that you are back again with us this week. We have conversations on this channel on marriage, relationships, family, faith, and everything in between. So if that's your vibe, consider subscribing and make this channel your home. And of course, don't forget to leave us a comment. I love hearing from you, love hearing your feedback. Sometimes you make suggestions of things that we should talk about, and that's really helpful. So please do leave us a comment. And finally, share this episode with someone because it might help them. So welcome aboard this week. I have a special guest for you. I met this person today for the first time, but I heard about him, I think last year. My husband came back home from the men's encounter that is happening again, by the way, this year, and I'll be giving you details on that. He came back talking about everything that had gone on at the men's encounter. But there was one particular conversation that stood out for him. And he said, you must meet this guy. You must have him on your show. He's called Reverend BirungiByaYesu. First of all, his name is really unique. Welcome to the show, Reverend.
Thank you.
He said he has such a powerful story. I think it's going to be very helpful and useful to people that hear it. And so I said, why not? So here he is. Welcome again to the show.
Thank you.
So this is Reverend BirungiByaYesu. I'm going to give him an opportunity to say something about himself. You were telling me earlier what you do. So yes, you are Reverend. Does that mean that you practice? You're actively in the church? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Viewers, I'm the Reverend Professor Dr. Medard BirungiByaYesu. I am the founder and president of World Shine Ministries, which exists to raise godly men and godly women to lead Uganda and influence the nations of the world. We normally do three things. We reach, raise, and release people into the marketplace. We reach them, we raise them, and then we release them into the marketplace. We always say we mark, we make, we mature. So we mark, especially the younger generation, we make them through discipleship and mentorship. And when they are mature, then we release them into the marketplace to influence the nation.
Wonderful.
That's what we do. But as you have heard, I am an educationist.
Yeah.
So I used to work in Chambogo University. Then I also became ordained and became a chaplain of Chambogo University. But I have also worked in different places. I worked as a director of evangelism in the Diocese of Kampala after Chambogo Chapel chaplaincy. I worked in Zambia. I am now attached to St. Andrew's Bukoto because I retired.
Okay.
I retired not because I was old, because retirement has two meanings. There's when you change tires, you are retired. And then there's when you get old by age. So I got retired when I was 55 so that I can do something which will influence the nations.
Okay.
So that's why we started World Shine. We have 2 schools, primary schools, because I believe that education is the foundation. And the primary schools are foundations for the entire family and the future.
Absolutely.
So that's what we do. We have 2 schools in Tungamo, one in Ruchiga. And we also do health, because we built a clinic. We also build water wells in dry places all over the country. But I am also concerned about marriage. My wife is working very hard, has a very big women's ministry. Let the Deborahs arise.
Wow.
And then I also have a men's ministry, which is called Man Up. When David told his son, prove yourself a man.
Wow.
Because men are endangered species.
They are.
So I'm trying so hard to make sure that they come back to their roles and their families. And yes, and I'm writing a book now called Bachelor of Husbandology. How can a woman make her husband a better husband, and how can a man become a good husband so that he can look after his family? I am also a writer. I've written many books, published 6 books, which you can get in the supermarkets.
In the supermarkets?
And bookstores.
Bookstores.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what I'm doing now, and traveling all over the world, trying to change nations.
Wonderful. I think what you're doing is very commendable, especially because you're passionate about marriage.
Yes.
And I think for many, that's what you call end product. But you start from when the children are young, at a level where you can condition them, you can teach them, you can skill them, so that when they enter this family space, they have those, what do you call them, values that you have imparted upon them when they were still young. So I want us to capitalize on your passion for marriage, which is really why you are here.
Right.
One of the things I think that we encounter in our marriages is baggage from our backgrounds. Some of us come from broken homes. Some of us come from dysfunctional families. There's a lot of things we experience before we enter the marriage space. And maybe for the benefit of this conversation, it would be good to hear your story very briefly on how that played out in your own life, how you entered your marriage with baggage, and how that impacted your marriage.
First of all, I always tell people that your background has no power over your destiny.
True.
That's a very important thing. Because I was born in a dysfunctional family. Because my father had 5 wives. My mother was the first wife. And I lived in that kind of chaotic family. Because my father was a drunkard, a fighter, and so we lived under that kind of environment where hatred, suspicion, violence, both verbal and physical and financial, were the order of the day, where unhealthy competition was a huge problem. So we lived under that, and my mother was a Rwandese genocide survivor, because she's the only one who survived when the family was wiped out. And then she came to Uganda as a refugee, then got married to my father. And after some time, my father married other wives. As during that time, the Bachiga men were marrying as many wives as they wanted. But something tragic happened when I was 6 years old. My father, because of the conflicts in his wives, and he couldn't cope, the children, I think he decided to migrate from Kabale to Bushenyi, in a place called Bunyaruguru. And he sold his property, he sold his everything he had. So when we were supposed to go with him, he decided that my mother and her children were problems. He didn't want to migrate with problems.
Wow.
So it was just like a joke, but he was very serious. So the children, their mothers, their property, they entered the lorries and they left. So we were abandoned in Kabale, in a place called Chitanga in Paro. So when you are abandoned on the roadside, you are rejected. Then you are disowned because the man sells his properties and what. And then you are cursed because you are cut off from the family. It was not very easy for us. I think that was the most traumatizing thing that
you ever
I experienced when I was a little boy. at a time when a boy needs a father is when he left.
Oh, man.
So I grew up without a father, many sisters. So I didn't learn how to be
a man.
I didn't learn how fathers behave. I didn't. The concept of a father was broken. Even when I later on went to church, talking about our Father in heaven, I was thinking about my father, how what a terrorist he was. And so it also destroyed my image. But secondly, it affected my identity. Actually, three things. It affected my identity. It also affected my dignity. And also it affected my destiny, because you were just there. I had security in my father, he left. My self-worth as son of somebody vanished. And my significance, why am I here? Why was I born? Everything vanished. So that affected me a lot as I grew up. So I developed anger and bitterness from being abandoned and being rejected, but also from people who bought our property, who bought our lands, who bought our plantations. Now this plantation was yours. Now it is not yours. You are hungry. The bananas are at large. So I developed a sense of bitterness. And bitterness is food for demons. Then it started growing, how people treated us, how they treated my mother, how they treated my sisters, how they treated the entire family, where we became a center of suspicion. Anything that is lost, you are the ones. Anything that is destroyed, you are the first suspect. And so that developed the hatred and the anger. But also it brought a kind of isolation. You know, when you see somebody is sitting on the father's lap, somebody is doing this, so you feel you are left out. And isolation is a very dangerous thing. I've been telling parents, when you see your son drinking or taking drugs, don't just rush to judge. To judge, because some of those things, they come from, if you have a need, it is not met.
You look to something else.
You look something else.
Yeah.
And sometimes they need to be counseled and to be. But anyhow, so I grew up like that and grew up trusting women because I had 6 sisters. My mother was my closest friend. So I kind of hated also men. I didn't trust them because of what happened.
You had seen your father doing.
It started small, but then started growing with what some men did to us and what they did to my mother and what they did to my sisters. So with that background, it affected my teenagehood as well. Because when you're a teenager, it's just at a time when you are exploring, you want to be yourself. But anyway, my sister got married to a rich man after some time. I was a teenager. She decided that I should go back to school. Because at age 6, I was supposed to go to school. I didn't. Then when I was a teenager, my sister got married. She insisted, and my other sisters and my mother, that I should go to school. That was another horrible thing. To go to school, you are studying with small children.
You're old.
Of 4 years, 5 years, they are looking at you. How are you, grandpa? How are you? They are teasing you. And the teachers are also harassing you because you are old. person. So that also had a big impact on my life.
Self-esteem.
The wounds are getting deeper.
Mm.
And then I struggled. I finished P7. I did well. When I was going to join senior 1, I had been admitted at Makobole High School. Then people ganged together, and my sister who was sponsoring me was killed.
Oh.
They hired a mini soldiers. Then they shot my sister 8 bullets.
Oh dear.
She was suckling a baby girl of 8 months. They didn't kill the girl, but
they killed her.
They killed the mother, and then we found the girl was in a pool of blood.
Oh dear.
Suckling a dead mother. So that also crushed my... so then I tried to commit suicide 9 times. Because my heart was that if I get education, I will be somebody. Now, every hope is gone, and nobody helped. So I had a year off. I didn't go to secondary school. I stayed at home. But very depressed, very... and of course, the only way is if you can drink alcohol,
forget your problems.
Then you forget your problems, then you can sleep, then you know when you are drunk, you are in another world. You are strong, but when the alcohol goes off,
you're back to
default settings. At a worse situation. Whenever the children would go to school, secondary school, I would die standing. Because I was supposed to go, now I'm not, I'm at home. Then when they come for holiday, I would also die because they come with t-shirts. That is school, King's College Budo, and then they are speaking English. And
oh dear.
It was a very heart-crushing situation. And then that developed into anger. That's small anger, which something small, the anger comes up, and people say, where does this anger come from? But you know it is coming from that
all thing. These things, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, after 1 year, my sisters, my mother, they worked, they raised money. So I went to the secondary school, Makobole High School, which was my choice. And when I was at that school, I joined a group, a gang of boys who were called Chivanda boys, drunkards, fighters, all those, because they kind of provided security.
For you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I have people who can protect me. I have people who can lend me trousers, when we are going for a dance. I have people who can buy me alcohol. So, although it was a bad group, but I now had an identity.
Yeah, yeah.
I now had an identity, and then we destroyed the school through a very big strike, burning houses, destroying windows, and what. Violent strike. And many people were wondering what's wrong with these boys. But although the windows had nothing they did for me, because of that anger, which was not coming from a strike, by the way. The strike was there, but you see, everything was coming from there.
Growing up.
Growing up. Anything small will make me so angry and start smashing windows, smashing people's cars. You find, anyway, you are drunk. That's right. But there are people who become drunk. They are not destructive.
They're just there.
But you are drunk, then you get stones, then you smash somebody's car. But all of those, according to me, they were coming from my father, what he did, and my stepmothers, and so on and so forth. But I want to thank God, when I was in senior 3, I met the Lord. And the Lord saved me. I was in a bus going to join military training to get a gun and revenge on 19 people whom I had made a vow that before I die, I would kill them. So here is an opportunity to go to join the army, get a gun like Idi Amin,
You kill them one at a time.
But it was during that time that God spoke to me and said, will you forgive your father? And it was very hard.
I can imagine.
It's very, very hard. So I collapsed because the anger, you can be seated when you're having a civil war inside.
Inside you.
Nobody is talking to you, but inside you are fighting.
It's turmoil.
Fighting. Whom do I kill first? Whom do I kill next? So you go back into the tape to recycle what happened.
Wow.
And I fell down because something strangled me. Then the anger comes here, like a volcano, it can erupt. So it was at that time that I said, I have accepted to forgive my father.
Wow.
And I'm not going to kill him. And it was at that time that I stood and told everybody. During that time, if you got born again, you would confess your sins. I had, of course, heard the gospel many times, especially through AYF, Anglican Israel, because they came to our school and had a very big impact on my life. So I confessed my sins. I stopped joining the army. I went back to school, and the rest is history because completely God changed my life. And then I studied very well. Now I have 5 degrees. I'm a professor, I'm a reverend. I'm a father of 5 children, biological. I'm a grandfather of 3 grandchildren. So I am happy and contented. And that's why, and I'm been married for 33 years. Something which I never thought it would happen.
Would be
because I grew up without any lesson of how to be a good husband. So, but I thank God for His grace.
Wow.
So that is a summary of
your testimony.
My testimony, but I wrote it in a book which is called Tombstones and Banana Trees.
Okay.
That's where all the whole testimony is. If you get time, you go on Amazon, you get yourself a copy.
Tombstones and
banana trees. Yes.
Interesting. Reverend.
Which was talking about my death and family death, which was turned into banana plantation.
Wow.
A life of fruitfulness and life.
Yeah.
That's why there is tombs and there is banana.
I love the analogy. I love the analogy. What a testimony.
So that's a summary.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can come for details.
Oh, for sure. If you want to buy the book and read the entire story, please feel free to do that. There's so much to pick from just what you have shared. The whole idea of you didn't have a family modeled for you.
No.
And then there was the anger issues, that kept building, and the bitterness that kept building, and you talked about a civil war inside of you. And I think many of us experience that, where someone has offended you and the offense can range from mild to very severe. Maybe somebody has stolen something from you, or like your father has abandoned you or rejected you. And that offense stays within and builds.
Yeah.
And I know that, yes, the Lord saved you, but talk us through what happened now when you got married. You've not seen what a family looks like. You don't know what being a husband looks like. So what was that experience? What were the first few years of your marriage like?
So when I got married, I came with my baggage. Of course, my wife also came with her baggage. She will talk for herself. But I came with my baggage. First of all, I came with rejection. It's a baggage that when you don't deal with it, it affects your relationships.
That's true.
I came with abandonment. You can be in 1,000 people with 1,000 people, but you feel abandoned. I came with an orphan spirit. Although my father was alive, but we had not seen him. He was there, but I lived like an orphan. In fact, at one time, when the government was supporting orphans and some organizations, I prayed for him to die.
Oh, wow.
So that I can get a bursary. But because they were saying, your father is
He's
just
still alive.
Still alive. So I came with that orphan spirit. That was another baggage. Another baggage I came with was a victim spirit. A victim spirit is when you are victimized and you also want to victimize others.
Other people.
So instead of accepting your mistake, or you start blaming others, you make somebody a victim. And the other baggage I came with is I was vulnerable when I was young, so I couldn't protect myself. So now when you get married, you are now a boss. You are now a boss. So you transfer that kind of thing. And there are certain things my father did to make himself a man. So those things are very dangerous. If you take that baggage, how your father treated your mother, into your marriage, which according to him was normal. I mean, beating a wife was normal. He didn't even call it beating, he called it discipline.
Discipline, wow.
So I came with those baggages, easily offended. I also grew up as a Republican. You know, there are some people who grew up with parents. So those ones, before you do anything, you ask. If they give you food, you thank, you appreciate. But I grew up like stateless, you know, particularly we are stateless. So those who had kings, there's the way they behave. But those who were just free, you can do anything, you can say anything. So I came into marriage and found my wife grew up with her parents. And so the way she was speaking, the way she was doing things, and her father was a very strict man, very strict, very disciplinarian. So it became very difficult for me to live with her without confronting. What I called normal to her was abnormal.
Was abnormal, yes.
What I called right to her was not right. And so I used to make my own decisions and give her a report instead of consulting. I do something, I inform her. So the idea of marriage, where husband and wife, they are equal partners, the image was completely destroyed.
Yeah.
So I came with my anger, I came with my bitterness. She would say something small, then I would magnify it, roar like a lion. I would not appreciate her efforts because I thought that I'm a husband, so husbands
can do anything.
And my marriage became very crippled. We were married, I was born again, but my marriage was crowded with so many things. And my wife became miserable. She became unhappy. I was also unhappy. I was controlling all the finances, controlling everything that takes place. I'm a man, you are a wife. So she really felt reduced to nothing. She felt as if she was not a stakeholder.
Yeah, in the marriage.
And so their husbands, we call acidic husbands. So I became acidic in the words that I was speaking, judgmental, shouting, and so on and so forth. I also became a general husband because I grew up with my sisters, so I was free with women. Not necessarily that I want to go to bed with them, but you are generous with your words. You are going beyond the boundaries. So I had no boundaries of relating
with women.
Because to me, my sisters, my mother, they were my world. So now when you get married, you have to have boundaries. So I became a general husband, and my wife felt that she's not the woman. The one. That affected my relationships. Then I also became a bachelor husband because, the Bachiga men, they are married, but they are still single. When you are married, but you, apart from going to bed with your wife, but the rest you are still working as a bachelor. As a bachelor, you're working alone, you are doing this and that, you are coming anytime you want. You're not accountable. You are not accountable to her at all. She doesn't know where you are. You are not obliged to tell her, I'm going here, I'm going there. If she wants to know where I am, she asks my driver. That kind of relationship being puffed up by ego and so on and so forth. The money, even if it is yours, but it belongs to your husband. So she works for it, but the man is the head of the family, and the man decides all the decisions, even of businesses, without even consulting her. So that became a very big problem. I also had another problem. I was a baby husband because I grew up with my mother, so my mother, I couldn't do anything without consulting her. My mother said, my mother does this. Wow. This is how my mother cooks. So you are like a baby instead of trusting your wife and working together with her. So any small problem, my mother would know. And would know many, many things, even secret things. Because I had put my faith in her. She was like my God. The Bible says a man shall leave his mother and father, get united to his wife, they become one. So I still had a soul tie with my mother, a soul tie with my sisters. They almost destroyed my marriage, actually. Until when I decided to sort things out. And went and told them, I'm married to my wife, she's my half. If you hate her, you hate me. If you love her, you love me. And it was a big battle. I can imagine. Until I told my sisters were very, very strong. Because I remember one of my sisters told my wife, she said, you see, for you, when you die, our brother will marry another one. But when I die, my brother will never have a sister. Wow. And they were telling her, you can see 6 sisters, they are ganging against one woman. And they are supported by their mother. It was not easy. Oh my. So I told them, okay, I left you, so today I'm going. I will never come to this home again. Because you have rejected her. So you've rejected me. So you have rejected me. So this is my last time here. So tomorrow morning we are going and we will never come back. Never ring me, never call me, never construct. So now I am gone. Because you have rejected me. So around 3 in the morning, One of my sisters came to my bedroom on the door. She was crying. I kept quiet. After 1 hour, 3 girls came. They cried, scratching my door. I kept quiet.
Wow.
Around 5, 6 there, my mother also came. So they all came on my door and they were crying and they were. So I opened. I said, "What do you want? You made up your decision." So they cried. They said, "We will never do it again. We are sorry." And then from that time, the relationship improved. And I said, "From today, never ask me for money. You ask her."
You established some boundaries.
Established some boundaries.
Yeah.
And they became friends. Even my mother died there some years later, but she was the best and best. And in Kawari, when a woman is married, called Mugore. Mugore is the newlywed. Even up today, they still call my wife Mugore.
33 years later.
33 years later, because something shifted.
Yeah.
And then there was another incident, which I found my wife reading a small book in the bed, inside the blanket. I said, "This woman," I was a chaplain of Chambogo University at that time. What is this book she's hiding from
me?
Anyway, I went to the living room. When she slept, I came. I removed the book from her hand. When I read the title was "How to Tame Your Tiger." I was furious.
You are the tiger in this situation.
How can my wife? So this is how my wife views me. She calls me a tiger. Anyway, I went to the sitting room. I slept there. Very angry, of course. The anger, you know where it came from. I had a generational curse. My father was angry. My grandfather was angry. So the anger was
passed on.
It was passed on for generations. And our family was also controlled by generational curse of sexual immorality. My great-grandfather had 36 wives.
Wow.
My grandfather also had many. My father had 5 wives. So our family tree is well known for its polygamy, concubinage, and giving birth before marriage was normal, and all sorts of things. And of course, alcohol as well. My father was a drunkard. He died of alcohol. My aunt died of alcohol. My 2 brothers died of alcohol. My uncle died of alcohol. So alcohol also is a very big problem. But when I got born again, I left those things. So I decided to go to the prayer mountain to read the book.
How to Tame Your Tiger?
Before I could
confront you.
Shout or yell or what, confront my wife. So it had 25 characteristics, how dangerous a tiger is. And I found I had 23 out of 25.
You scored highly.
23 out of 25. Greatest embarrassment. The road humbled me down, and then down it had steps. How you can come from a tiger husband to become a Christian husband. In fact, it was about culture. How you can be a cultural husband, enjoy all the cultural benefits, but destroy your marriage. Because some of our cultural things, they are demonic.
That's true. Yeah.
So the question was, what do you want? Do you want to remain a cultural Muchiga husband? Or you want to be a Christian, loving, caring husband? That was the thing. And now that I was guilty, and I looked through all these years how I have treated my wife, I decided to cross over from a cultural husband to be a Christian, loving, caring husband. Because one of the things I read that really hit me most was, if Christ is not above culture, then he's not Lord at all.
At all. Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And the Christian marriage, you should be, Jesus should be Lord of your marriage.
True.
And so I repented. I went through what I call marital metamorphosis.
Wow. This is after how many years?
After 15 years.
Wow.
So I had to go into that when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. So I decided to cross over and I said, this is what I want for my marriage, for my children, for my wife. Let me try it. I've tried this one. It hasn't worked. So I went home, knelt before my wife and asked her to forgive me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all this baggage I came with. She was not there when our father left us. She was not there. So I decided that I cut myself off from that baggage. I had a soul tie. So I had to cut myself off from that soul tie and let it go. And decided that I should go for biblical equality. Biblical equality is when God created Adam and Eve. In Genesis chapter 1, he said them 5 times. He created them, male and female. He blessed them. He gave them authority to subdue. And them, there are 5 thems there. So according to that, they were all equal partners.
That's true.
They were working together. They were consulting each other. They were working as a team. And that's what marriage I wanted.
Yeah.
But this marriage where my wife is a second class, like our Pachiga culture, second or third or fourth, I said that I don't want that. I want my children to grow up in a family where a husband and wife, they respect each other and they love each other and they promote each other, not where they compete. So the first thing I did was to promote transparency. I used to get money. I wouldn't tell my wife what money I have. So I decided to make a trial. So I said, today I am making, in fact, I called even my cousins. I wanted to make it official. I said, today I'm making you the governor.
Wow.
Of Bank of Birungi. So you are going to be in charge of the money.
The finances.
I brought all the bank things. Even today, I don't know my ATM
PIN
because she has been running the money for many years. And I was so shocked. In 6 months, she had paid all our debts. I said, where did you get the money?
The money.
She said, but this money is ours. This money is yours.
Yeah.
After a short time, she bought a plot. After that, then we started building. We bought a car, we did. I said, you are seated on gold. Because you know me, I'm generous. So whenever I get money, this one is crying, my sister is crying, whenever. Even people would lie to me. And if I see tears, then I think they are not lying. I give them money. So I found I was not saving. I found I was carelessly giving without boundaries. So that was a very big lesson.
Wow.
And then she freed me because I am now going abroad, traveling. This business of now, you want to sign checks, you want to do this and this.
Yeah.
So I gave her authority. I mandated my authority, I gave it to her to run the family finances. The children know she's running finances. Of course, she gives me accountability. She consults me. But she did our finances very well.
Yeah.
So I empowered her financially, so she was no longer financially insecure. If you want your wife to be secure, empower her.
This is true.
Empower her financially so that she can be confident, self-esteem, and she has run very well, paying school fees for children when I'm not there, doing this and that. It gave me freedom. I gave her freedom to run finances, but she also gave me freedom to do ministry and to do what I was doing. Secondly, I set boundaries. My father didn't have boundaries in his marriage. He was loose. He was not selective. So I decided now to have boundaries on my marriage so that my wife could be protected.
Yeah.
And of course, my relatives were not happy, but it's good for a wife to be secure.
Yeah.
Once she knows these are boundaries, once she knows, I give you something very small but funny. My sisters, because I grew up with them, when I got married, they would come and run into my wedding, my bedroom.
Your home. Hey.
Goodness, this is my brother's bedroom.
Wow.
They pick anything they want. They are free.
Yeah.
But you see, when you get married, you must have boundaries.
This is true.
I am now married. So I'm married to this guy. I'm not married to you. So you should have where you stop. So that baggage of being free, they can do anything, they can pick money without even asking. So I put boundaries where they can reach. Even the children.
Yeah.
I tell the children, I'm married to your mother, you have a boundary. You are my children, but there is where you stop.
Yep.
And then I decided to have words, because my words were dangerous. So I decided now to have words of affirmation. As a Christian, appreciate your wife. I encourage her. I used to forget her birthdays and
naturally.
Valentine. Because I
Anniversary.
used to have our Bachiga. If I love you, if I didn't love you, why did I marry you? That's enough. I don't need to keep telling you
that I love you.
That I love you. Even food. Mchiga man, if you finish food on your plate, you have liked it. So do I need to say?
I don't need to say thank you.
Do I need to say thank you? You have finished it. I have liked it.
Yeah.
So those kind of baggage, I decided that I need to appreciate.
Yeah.
And the gratitude is a very important thing. So I went to a counselor. The counselor said, you look for 25 things that you love about her.
That was a challenge.
I said, 25? The counselor said, yes. A minimum. I'm giving you 1 month. So I went, anything from courtship, marriage, I kept writing. By the time I went back to the counselor, I had 72 things that are good about her. That's why I say that some of the things we experience, they are demonic. I said 25. I got 72. And the counselor told me now, every week you write about 2.
Okay.
Only 2. So 72 divided by 2 by weeks, you can imagine. Because he told me, if you don't deposit, you can't withdraw.
You can't withdraw. The love bank.
So I was always complaining that she doesn't talk. Anyway, she's soft-hearted, but he said deposit there. So I started writing. She first kept quiet. Or she would just say, okay. But later on, she picked the momentum. Now she writes more than I do.
Yeah.
Then I started buying cards. There are some cards that have very good words. And so she became alive again and became strong. And now she talks almost more than me. She picked the thing now. We trust each other. We are open. I used to hide money from her.
Okay.
Hide money in socks, hide money under the pillows, as if she was a thief. But now I am open, she can touch my pockets. Even if money goes anywhere, I trust her. I am no longer living like a secret society. I used to buy land and would exclude her. Because the land is for a man.
Wow. Again, culturally.
Culturally. Yeah. Man, when he's doing an agreement, why do you include your wife there? Your wife is like a stranger sometimes. So now, everything we have, we co-own. Even bank accounts, even agreements for land. Something shifted in my life. But also the anger, I try to fight. The anger, of course, if you're in marriage, you can't live without getting angry at each other, because we believe that when cows drink together, they splash mud on each other. How do I control my anger, which is volcanic? You know, it takes time, boiling. By the time it opens. So one time she asked me a question. She said, we were quarreling. She said, whom am I talking to? That was a very hard question. Yeah. I am seated with you, we are talking.
And you asking, who am I talking to?
You're asking me, who am I talking to? And then she said, tell me the truth. Am I talking to Medard, BirungiByaYesu, a preacher, a great man of God, a lover of many? Or I am talking to a 6-year-old boy who was abandoned by his father on the roadside?
Wow.
Because I think she discerned that anger and the tone was coming from many years ago. You know, anger and bitter, if you don't deal with these issues, even at 60, you can go back to 6 years.
That's true.
And I was 60 years old. Now I was behaving like a 6-year-old boy. And when she said it, it is as if I woke up from sleep. Then I discovered that actually, when she was talking to me, she said something similar, or not similar, but somewhere related to what my father said when we were going away. And so I jumped from being a 60-year-old man. I went down, coiled down to a 6-year-old boy. That's why I reacted in that way. But she discovered it, and she had to talk to me in that way. And quickly, I knew I am now victimizing her. I am now behaving like a 6-year-old boy. Our past, if we don't deal with it, it will always push us back.
That's true.
You have moved forward, then
10 steps back.
And 10 steps backwards. That's why we need to deal with those issues. And forgiveness, and it can be a very important thing.
Reverend, you talked about culture, and I want you to speak to the husbands, because many of the things you've been saying, I'm sure a lot of women can say, my husband is like that. There are certain things in our culture that men bring into the home, even the women, but today I want us to talk about the men, bring into the home that I am a man mentality that they bring into the home. I think there's the office of the husband, but I want you to speak to husbands and the cultural aspects that are detrimental to our marriages. What are some of those things you would warn husbands about not to practice in their marriages, because they are going to deter that partnership and that oneness? Maybe drawing from your experience, what are some of those things you dragged into your home, cultural aspects?
Culture is good. There are some cultural values that are good. I'm not against culture, but there are some demonic practices or patterns that are demonic, that are not right. For example, the first thing is you can't, in our Christian marriage, a man shall leave his father and mother, get united to his wife, they become one. So if you become one mind, one body, that means that you honor her. Because you are honoring yourself, you respect you, because you are respecting yourself. But if you treat her as a second class, because most of our African cultures, they take women as second class citizens.
That's true.
The lens you are looking at your wife is as if you are up there, and she's down here. And that's a very dangerous thing. But if you respect her, you are equal partners in marriage. You came with your baggage, she came with hers. So there is no one who is better than the other one. Yeah. She has brains, you don't have brains. It's very dangerous. So that kind of segregation is not right. But also the culture of violence, domestic violence, because in our culture, if a woman does something wrong or makes you angry, you are supposed to discipline her. The Bachika don't call it beating, it's disciplining. You don't have a right to physically abuse your wife. That is not good. But many cultures, even when a wife is being beaten, she's not supposed to respond.
Is that so?
Culturally, when your husband is disciplining you, you are supposed to bend your head and take it. He beats until his wrath is satisfied. If you react, then that becomes
null and void. Oh.
He can beat you and chase you away. So that kind of slave-master relationship is not marriage. Good culture. It's not a good culture at all. There's also financial abuse, where a woman is financially abused. You're not given money, you're not catered for. To get a dress is a miracle. So financial abuse is also a very big problem, which culturally okay, but it's not good to deny yourself access to wealth. Most women are poor amidst riches.
So sad.
It's very sad. Their husbands are rich, but they are poor. And yet, for example, I give you an example. Culturally, your sister or your auntie, they are very important. So I can give my auntie 1 million when my son doesn't have school fees.
Wow.
But because the culture says your auntie is
an important person.
That's why you see the aunties and the sisters, they get more privileges than the women who are working, making that money. You have your sister comes to visit you, she gets authority, even over your own house, where you are. She wants to lead, because that's how your husband treats you. But also verbal abuse is a very important thing, where the men abuse their wives verbally, in front of house girls, in front of their sisters, their children, their sisters. So if you abuse me verbally in front of my sister-in-law, will that sister-in-law respect me?
Nope.
No. No. We will never. That's another big problem. Then another big problem is intertwined with the church teaching and the cultural teaching. Like the Bible says, a man is the head of the family. It agrees with the cultural Bachiga tradition that a man is the head. So, having that in mind, a man wants to control everything. But if you are a body and the head cannot go in the air, the head is connected to the body. I don't know where the wife is, whether she's a neck or what, but most men have abused their headship. The headship of Christ. Christ loved the church.
That he gave. And
even gave his life for the church. That's what the Bible says. If it says the man is the head of the family as Christ is the head of the church. And he gave his life for the church. So that kind of headship, which has nothing to do with the body, is a very dangerous headship.
Yeah.
Because as a head, you are supposed to see for the family.
Vision.
Do many men see for the family? Do they have a vision for their family? Men are supposed to hear for the family. What do they hear? Do they hear for the family? They are supposed to speak for the family because the mouth is on the head. Are they speaking for the family? They are supposed to think and plan for the family. Are they planning for the family? They are supposed to test for the family. Are they testing for the family? So, one time I was a younger boy. When I was 6 years old, our father used to call us to slaughter chickens for our visitors. So we used to cut off the head of the chicken and allow it to flap its wing to dance for us, and we would clap hands. But how long would it go? Just a short time.
And then it
will
fall.
Collapse. So now we have many families without heads. The head has been cut off. And you can imagine if a headless person entered this room,
would disappear.
Would have a heart attack or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what is happening, where men or fathers don't care at all. So the families are run without heads. We have a fatherless generation because men think for them they are high, they can even go, they can drink, they can come anytime, they can do whatever they want, and they have nothing to do with the family. That's why many children don't connect with their fathers.
Yeah.
Especially the boys. The boy is supposed to be close to the father, but where is he? He's running up and down. And so many men, they make money. They say, I'm making money, fine. But if you make money when you die,
family,
when you die, your property will not raise your children.
That's true.
And your children can sell the things. So I challenge men to really have time to sit with their children, time to sit with their wives, time to build up relationships that even when you die, you leave a very strong society behind. I also have another problem of culture, of sharing properties. Because the property belongs to a man according to culture. But in a marriage relationship, Christian marriage, property should belong to both.
Both of you.
And I have seen many women who die, men and their families are completely destroyed by property. The sisters, the woman remains poor when the properties are taken by his relatives. So it is very important for every man to know that what you're working for your wife, for your children, and then you can give some things later, but priority, your family should be your priority.
Yeah.
And they should have access to that wealth to that properties. I had a seminar where I asked the women, how many of you are in your agreements for your husband's properties? And I found only 32%.
Wow.
I told the women, I said, all of you 70-something%, you are house girls. Because the house girl is the one who doesn't.
She's not entitled.
He's not entitled to anything.
Yeah.
I know many men who die, they have lent money to people, they don't give it back because the women didn't know. You see people coming to sell houses. Why? Oh, your husband had my money. She wasn't there.
Aware. Yeah.
I know many people have lost money because their wives were not on the accounts, so they didn't know my husband has an account there. So they are poor, even children. Poor. They don't know where her father kept his money.
Yeah.
They don't know which bank. They don't know which account. And some of them, when they die, they leave their bank accounts with their sisters or nephews, or even when they start companies, they start the companies in the names of other people instead of. So those cultural things where a man is everything is no longer attractive in the current generation.
Yeah.
That's why you see even today, the man doesn't want his wife to know his password for his phone because he fears that his wife may be jealous and may see what he's talking. You're not supposed to be generous. Anybody you see on TikTok, you start saying, oh, lovely, oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. Even on Facebook, even there are certain things when you get married, they are reserved for your wife only.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was a boy, I worked like a boy, but when I grew up, I became a man.
Yeah.
So if you are a man, you are on social media like a teenager.
Little boy. Shame on you.
You are very generous with all your comments. That's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
But it is also important to know that the culture of submissiveness has also been abused. You must submit to me, but I must submit to you in lawful things.
Yes.
But the man demands total submission in everything.
In everything.
So that's a cultural thing, because the culture, if you don't submit to your husband, he will throw you out or marry a second wife.
Yeah.
But today, there are some areas where you should submit and where you should say no. Like for us in church, we are supposed to obey the bishop in lawful things. That's what the law says. But all the bishops, they don't talk about in lawful things. They want you to obey, submit to them and obey them. But so when you say, no, this is not right, then he thinks you are big-headed, he thinks. And then in the church, we have what we call kickyology. The bishop will kick you to a very remote parish where you will never recover.
So he doesn't have to deal with you.
And this is also what some men are doing. You do something small, he crushes you to pieces so that you don't again say, but this is not right.
Yeah.
This is not right. So we must promote justice.
Yes.
In our homes. We must give our children a right to ask. Because in the culture, children are supposed to submit without question. But today we are in a new generation. Your children know more than you do.
That's true.
So it's very important also to include our children in decision making and get them into the family. Get them into the family. Make the children responsible. Let the children keep some money so that you teach them how to be accountable and how to manage money. But this I call it OMO. OMO means one man operated. This one man operated family. Even when is not smart, by the way. Even when the man is not a mugezi, but he wants to assert that
he's the man.
So instead of getting, let me tap from this one, from my wife, I tap from my children, they build my home. He wants to remain on top even when some of the decisions he makes are foolish.
Yeah.
So it is very important to pick some of the good cultures, like love, like respect, like working together, like caring for one another, and so on. They are good. But the bad ones, we should not allow them to run our homes.
Yeah. Reverend, I want us to bring our conversation to a close with just one question. And now you're speaking to both the men and the women. The idea of self-awareness, because as I listen to you, you sound very self-aware. You know where your issues came from, how they started, how they affect you, how they affected your marriage, how they affected your wife. And there are so many married men and women who are not aware of how their background and baggage affects them. For them, they're just getting annoyed about things. You're irritated with your spouse. You don't even know why you're irritated, why that thing has triggered you. I want you to speak to the importance of self-awareness and maybe how you became self-aware. How do you know all of these things and how your background affected you?
One of the things is, of course, the Holy Spirit can teach you. I encourage men to receive Jesus as Lord and Savior. Because when Christ is in you, inside of you, He will teach you many things that you are not aware of. The Holy Spirit's work is to make you aware. So the spiritual element is very, very important, because that's where forgiveness comes. That's where egoism, the ego is crushed and Christ becomes the Lord.
Yep.
But secondly, one thing that has helped me also is to learn from other people. I attend conferences, I attend seminars, because knowledge is authority.
Yep.
Information is authority. So most of our men, they don't attend seminars. They don't attend marriage conferences. They don't attend marriage seminars.
You find women there.
You find women all the time. And that's why I started this Man Up conference. Every year, since last year, I am going to be having that conference for men only.
Yeah.
And when we are alone, we talk, and we can even quarrel.
Argue.
Because we are men. We argue, we quarrel, we tell you the truth, this is not right.
Yeah.
And they bring arguments, they are demolished. Because iron sharpens iron.
That's true.
But also, I am a reader. I think I have read more than 1,000 books. I read.
A lot.
I read. Even when I go to a conference, I buy books. In fact, I have a big library at home. One of the books that challenged me was Conscious Marriage.
Yeah.
That you must be conscious that you are married. Everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Whether you are in the toilet, whether you are in a car, whether you are in the meeting, you must be conscious that you are married. Whether you are on Talk, what you call it, TikTok, whether you are on WhatsApp, whether you are on what, Facebook, you must be conscious that you are married.
Yeah, yeah. And
the most men, they are not conscious. So they are loose. They say anything, they do anything without being conscious. I was teaching at Shambo University. Some men who were married, they are coming for upgrading. They would remove their rings. So you meet him, he's like a single student, so he can get engaged, he can start relating, but when they enter the bus, then they put their rings back. It was so sad. Even nuns, they would remove their veils when they are students. They are normal.
Yeah.
So they can do anything. You don't know they are nuns.
Yeah.
Reverends, they remove their collars. So you don't know whether they are reverend or not. They can relate, they can. And when you are in a bus, I didn't know you were a reverend. So once you are conscious that you are married, then you hold your speed. You hold the brakes. There are certain things where you are saved from doing certain things. So men should be informed. But secondly, they should strive to learn from one another. Someone is a pot of knowledge. And also we need to learn from our wives. Let me tell you something. I don't mention the name, but my counselor told me at one time, and my wife said, I want you to go and write 30 things how you feel. I said, what? How you feel? What do you mean? He says, now you do like this. If you do this, I feel this is how I feel. So he led us through. So we went, trying. If you shout at me, this is how I feel. If you don't say thank you, after I have had sex with you, this is how I feel. If you don't sweep the room, this is how I feel. If you don't, so many things. And then after 3 months, we came back. I came with my list. My wife came with her list. And the man said, now, exchange. Exchange the lists. When I read what my wife...
It was a long list.
That my wife is 37 or 40. How she feels. And I also gave her mine. That thing, we still have those things. It helped us a lot because I came to know how she feels. And the bad things that makes her unhappy, makes her cry. I try by all means to avoid them. But the good things she said, if you say this, this is how I feel. If you do this, this is how I feel. If when I come into the room, I am coming from far away, I come and you stand to welcome me. This is how I feel. If you say hi, this is how I feel. But if you give me a hug, this is how I feel. And so on and so on. They have helped us over the years to keep our marriage moving. My wife was asked when we had our anniversary last year, 33 years, what are 3 secrets? So I held my breath because we were in a very big meeting in Finland. I said, now what is she going to say? So she said the 3 things. Number 1, commitment. Number 2, commitment. Number 3, commitment. And she explains how commitment has kept her with a tiger for 33 years.
A tamed tiger.
A tamed tiger. And but she also said she was a tigress. But commitment. And I know commitment. Many men are not committed to their marriages. They are committed to their businesses. They are committed to their career. They are committed to sports. But
to the marriage.
They are not committed to their marriage. If men could be committed to their marriage, they will make a huge difference. Not only on their wives, but also on their children. Because the relationship I have with my children is very good. And it came from being committed. Although I was running up and down, but when I am available to get committed to my children, get committed to a quality time, to have time with the child. During the week, I have one daughter, so I get committed to her. I have time to sit with her and talk. That is her quality time. The other ones don't interfere. Then another child has a time when I'm committed to take them out. Then my wife, we also have time when we are together, me and her, committing ourselves to that. Of course, and other things we could get committed to, but a relationship can die if you don't commit yourself to it.
Mm.
Finances, if you don't get committed to meeting the needs, you can crash. So it is very important to get committed. I wedded a couple, and after some time, the couple came and the woman was complaining, I am divorcing my husband.
Oh dear.
It's over. And she threw the marriage certificate on the table. Here is your paper. So I said, is this a paper or it is a marriage certificate? She said, whatever you say,
I'm done.
I am done. So I picked a book. I always keep the books, the marriage service books. I said, can you read page 4? Because that was their book. So she started reading. I so-and-so,
take you so-and-so.
Take your so-and-so to be my husband, and what, and what. And then she says, for better and for worse. I said, stop there. She stopped. I said, did you make these vows under the influence of alcohol? She said, no. Did you make these vows under the influence of drugs? She said, no. Was there any policeman? She said, no. Did you do them in your own right mind? She said, yes. I said,
so where are you going?
How many months have you been married? She said, only 6 months. Hey, I said, okay, that's true. 6 months were for better.
Oh dear.
I don't know what your husband has done. I don't know what your husband has done. You have now started part B for worse. She said, what? Hey, I said, there's another set. For richer and for poorer. So, if your husband fails to get a job, are you going to come here? Here is your paper. I said, there's another set. For richer,
for sickness,
poorer.
in sickness,
In sickness and in health. I saw 2 tears coming from down there. I said, there is another one, until death do us apart. I said, where is the coffin of your husband? She said, what? I said, where is the coffin? Because you said, until death do you apart. This is my ceremony vow to you. And you signed, this certificate is signed by you, this is your
signature.
So I said, commitment is very, very important. But her husband came and he was sweating. I said, okay, tell me now what has happened. And then the woman said, I left my phone and I came to pick it. I reached the gate man was not there. So I put my hand, opened, and entered my room. I just came like normal, going to my room. I found my husband on top of my house girl in my bed. In my bed, Reverend. In my bed. So I shut down. It is over. I asked this man, is it true? He said, yes. That was terrible. And then I said, how can you be an engineer, masters, you have a company? You go down, sleep to a house girl who didn't even go to school. And the woman said, Reverend, this is her picture. So the man, then I asked her, how is your sex life? The man said, ask her. I said, since when did you have sex with your husband? She said, 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
So 4 months, sex. 2 months, no sex. So those are 6 months. So now the man said, you see, Reverend, she sleeps wearing overalls like mechanical. She said, I will never touch her. And it was over money.
It was because of money?
The man went to with her ATM, withdrew money from her account. He never told her. She went to the bank and they told her, you don't have money. You have insufficient funds. So she got angry. She said, now who
took my money?
And it is when he told her.
After he had withdrawn it?
Yes.
So she got upset?
She got upset and said, where is the money? The man had used the money. Didn't tell her. So she got very angry.
And cut off conjugal
and
rights.
cut off. And the man didn't apologize. So that was the problem. And then he said, now I want to teach her a lesson. Now he started buying mapiti for the house girl and also some things and put some binushu into her to look nice. And she became arrogant as well. So the woman was wondering,
what's happening here?
What is happening here? Anyway, we talked and they were reconciled. But commitment is a very important thing. Repentance, saying sorry, is a very important thing.
Yes.
Working together as a team is a very important thing. I want to end by saying that God loves oneness. That's why they said they were two and they became one and they were not ashamed. That's why in Psalms 133, it says that, see how good and pleasant it is to live together in harmony. When you are working together, instead of your wife becoming a wife, she becomes a knife if they are not working together. If you are not working together, instead of a wife, she becomes a knife because she's trying to defend herself. But if you work together, it pleases God. God is very happy about it. But also he says it is like anointing oil poured on Aaron down his feet. So it is a full anointing. You are both empowered. You don't leave one behind. Once you are both empowered, so you are like two hands, two wings. When an eagle flies with two wings, it flies very high and very far. But if it is one wing, it can't reach anywhere. Then he also says that it is like dew of Hebron, which waters gardens in a dry season. There is dew that comes on Mount Hebron there. It waters gardens in the morning. It is like cavalry. In the morning, it is like it rained. So when you are working together, you water each other. And then finally it says, where there is unity, God commands a blessing now and forevermore. So when a husband and wife, they're working together, then they model their family, their children also know the power of unity. When they get married, then they also try to model their parents. But if they grew up without any role model like me, then you need the grace of God to help.
That's true.
So I've been helped by people, by men. I've been helped by women. I've been helped by the church. I've been helped by reading. I've been helped by seminars. So there are so many things that have shaped me and molded me. And very good mentors. When I got married, they told me to see 20 couples. Meet them, talk to them, learn from them. And it has been our culture every year to interact with 20 couples, pick something from them.
And go and use it in your home.
Go and use it in your own families. And brokenness. I don't know how many times I've said sorry to my wife, which many men don't do.
Yeah.
We are everything, we are missed, I know. But it's very important to acknowledge my mistake and say sorry.
Yeah.
And then the children will be shocked. Daddy, you are saying sorry. But also it is important to hold your brakes before you speak. One time my wife told me, we had a 4-year-old boy. He said, I have told my son to bring something. The little boy said, Mommy, why are you shouting at me? I said, what? The boy said, I'm shouting at him. Where did he get those things? And then she was very clever. She said, okay, when Daddy is calling you, how does he call you? He said, Omega, can you please bring me some water? He said, me, when I'm calling you, what do I say? Onaga!
So he knew that difference.
I tell you, my wife told me, but I also learned a lot that these children,
they are watching.
However young they are watching. So let's also model how we talk to our children, how we talk to our neighbors, how we treat people. Blessed are peacemakers, for they shall see God.
Yes.
Amen. If you look at my wife, she looks like a 25-year-old.
Wow.
Oh my. And people ask, why you look so young? Because she's happy.
Yeah.
I no longer stress her as I used to do.
Yeah.
I became broken. I said farewell to Mchiga man. I'm now a Christian husband who is loving and caring. And that's the legacy.
Yeah.
We were celebrating 33 years. I said, my wife, give the speech you would give on my funeral. Okay. She said, what? I said, I want you to give a speech which you would give on my funeral so that I can hear it.
Yes.
She was amazing what she said. Some of the things I didn't know that I have, but which she has identified and encouraged. Now I'm healed.
Yeah.
These wounds, if you don't
work deal with them,
they
can consume you.
They can consume you.
Yeah.
And you are the one to lose.
Absolutely.
But if you deal with them and get healed, and you deposit and you withdraw, you have a wonderful marriage.
Yeah.
So may God bless all the men who are watching this broadcast. We need to go back to Adam when he was created. The original plan of God, how it began. It was distorted by the devil. So we should not live in the fall. We should live in redemption because Jesus redeemed us from the fall and its characteristics. And go back to how Eve and Adam, after their creation, how that paradise should be. That's where we need to go back to.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Reverend.
Thank you very much
for being here. I think this was a wholesome conversation. I've picked so much from what you've said, and maybe as you were closing, the word brokenness, I think, is the perfect way to sum up what you were saying. Yeah. Brokenness on both parts, men and women.
Yes.
If we are broken, we are going to have wonderful marriages. It's just as simple as that. Thank you for being here and for all the wisdom you've shared.
Thank you very much.
For me, it was like sitting with my dad telling me stories, about marriage and just hearing from your own experience. Thank you for being vulnerable. We have a small gift for Mrs. BirungiByaYesu because she has tamed the tiger.
She has tamed the tiger very well.
So I have a gift for her from
Thank you.
Newman's. They are the makers of the best snacks in Uganda.
Best snacks.
Yes, from
wonderful
potato crisps.
My wife, she's Miss Uganda 1991, so she will like this.
Oh wow! Look at that.
She's Miss Uganda 1991, and I was the chairman of the panel.
Is that so? You were chairman. So you were biased chairman.
So she won the contest.
She won the contest. Wonderful.
She will like these gifts.
No, those are tell her from the good wife.
Thank you very much.
To another good wife. Thank you for taming this tiger. I mean, he's here today to help other men. We appreciate you. And then this one is yours. This is from Reverend Naturals. Reverend Naturals make natural skincare products.
Oh.
Yeah, so body butters.
Thank you very much. Very much.
Yeah, so follow both of them on Instagram, Newman's on social media, as well as Reverend Naturals on social media. And please support them. They are wonderful partners of the Good Wife.
We will.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you once again.
I hope that one time you're going to invite her to come.
Oh, yes. Like you said, she needs to speak for herself. Would love to hear how she tamed this tiger.
Wonderful cancer.
Yeah. All right. Please leave us a comment. We'll be back again next week with another riveting conversation right here on The Good Wife. And don't forget to subscribe. Until next week, bye-bye and God bless.
Thank you.